Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, David here, and welcome back to another Atlus news video. Today, I want to talk about Raidou, as I have the hat on, and I want to find out, are we going to get King Abaddon? Are we going to get Raidou 2 Remastered? Because I'm almost done with Raidou Remastered, the Mystery of the Soulless Army, and again, I have been sleeping hard on this game. I tweeted it out during the weekend. I was like, God damn it, why did this game stay for so long on my backlog, my Atlus backlog? It is a shame, and I'm ashamed. So please, you guys, check it out. It's cheap. It's very good. I am a purist. I am a turn-based RPG fan, and Raidou is fire. The story is great, the characters is great, but this is not a review of Raidou. We have sales numbers, we have something in Raidou Remastered that fans found out that it could be a hint. It definitely is a hint, in my opinion, that maybe we get Raidou 2 someday, or maybe even a new Raidou game, a Raidou 3 at some point. We also have Atlus talking about the design of their logo and everything, which again hints at the potential for a remaster of Raidou 2. So it's looking good. We're also going to analyze the first week of sales for physical copies sold in Japan compared to previous Devil Summoner games by Atlus. So it should be really interesting. If you don't know me, name's David. I'm trying to be in the #1 place for Atlus news coverage here on YouTube. So if you're into that kind of stuff, please consider subscribing, ringing that little notification bell. Let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to point out is Digital Devil Saga. So what the hell am I talking about, you're asking? Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2 are the games that I was expecting Atlus to remaster, not Raidou. I just want to briefly mention that. And the main reason for that is these games were already voiced, which means cheaper porting process. Then you have these games reusing a bunch of outlets from Nocturne, which already got the HD treatment. And most importantly, when you look at Digital Devil Saga, let's say you're a new Megaton fan, you played, if we're lucky, you played SMT4 for Apocalypse, you played SMT5. But let's be realistic here. You played SMT5 Vengeance, and that's all you played. You think it's great. The game sold over 2 million copies, so obviously, lots of new fans jumped into mainline with this one. You played SMT5 Vengeance, you look at DDS, very similar combat. I feel right at home. Let me grab that bad boy. You look at Raidou, oh, this is something completely new. This is something different. Of course, you're going to recognize certain demons and everything, but when it comes to combat, when it comes to setting and everything, very different. So, that surprised me. And I feel like Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2 would have done a little bit better in terms of sales. Speaking of sales, let's start with that, and then we'll move on to the hints that Atlus gave us when it comes to Raidou 2 getting the remaster treatment. Alright, so we have a great sales comparison here provided by Persona Central. My sources, all of my sources are always in the video description for Atlus news episodes. Persona Central pulled up from Game Data Library the sales numbers of the that is important, the first week of sales of all Devil Summoner titles in Japan. In Japan, we get numbers through Famitsu, and they do not include digital copies. So nowadays, you're basically at a 50-50 split in Japan when it comes to physical versus digital releases. So keep that in mind. The numbers that you're going to see for modern games, you should do ×2 to get like the real numbers, you know? So let's look at it. Best-selling title would be Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner, which is the original Sega Saturn release at over 350,000 copies. Then you have the first Soul Hackers on Saturn, which sold lifetime 258,000 copies. So the over 350 for Devil Summoner, that wasn't the first week, it was lifetime. So the first week for Soul Hackers, 160,000. And then you drop heavy as soon as you start talking about Raidou. Sequel to the original Raidou game, Devil Summoner Raidou Kuzunoha vs. King Abaddon, that sold 76,000 copies here on PlayStation 2. Obviously, no digital version here, so those are the real first week of sales numbers. Then you have Soul Hackers on PlayStation 1, a port, selling 60,000 copies during its first week. 3DS version of Soul Hackers sold 73,000 copies. Original Raidou game, Raidou Kuzunoha vs. the Soulless Army on PlayStation 2, selling 56,000. And then you have your first modern Atlus release, PlayStation 4 version of Soul Hackers 2 sold 31,000 copies. So again, to that one, I would do ×2 because when Soul Hackers 2 came out in 2022, you should expect a 50-50 split when it comes to physical and digital. So Soul Hackers 2 selling roughly 60,000 copies on PlayStation 4. And then number 8, you have RAIDOU Remastered, The Mystery of the Soulless Army, Nintendo Switch version at 21,000 copies, so roughly 40,000 on Switch. And then you have the PS5 version of Soul Hackers 2 selling 20,000, I would say roughly 40. PS5 version of The Mystery of the Soulless Army sold 20,000 copies, again roughly 40, so right alongside the Switch version here. Switch 2 version selling 5,000 copies during its first week, and then the PS4 version being the lesser selling version at 5,000 copies sold. So you have here RAIDOU at around 55,000 copies digital, which would make it at around 100,000 copies total. So if you compare it to like other releases, it sold almost double what the original did on PlayStation 2, which is really good. Sold over 20,000 copies over the Soul Hackers on the 3DS. It sold 40,000 copies over the PlayStation. So overall, when you compare the sales numbers, they might seem a little bit low, especially when you compare it to like Persona games, which are way more popular, or even to mainline games. So Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne HD, for example, selling better than that during its first week. But RAIDOU and Devil Summoner, they don't have the name, they don't have the brand that a Nocturne does or a Persona does. So overall, sales numbers, it all depends on what Atlus was expecting. But I look at this and I'm like, certainly not, I'm not falling off my chair. It's not like insane numbers, but it's certainly not a flop either. I would think that at a $50 price point, those are all full price sales, right? Since it's the first week, no sales. I would say Atlus is probably happy with those numbers. Now let's talk about the hints that they gave us. The first thing that I want to share with y'all was something that Nathan, fan of the channel, found on X when the official Twitter page for Atlus West shared the story behind the evolution of the RAIDOU Remastered's logo design. And there was something very, very interesting that they shared here. Quote, "For the fans, our goal was to create a design that makes them want to play the game again. For new audiences, we wanted to create a logo that would give them a clear image of the game's characters and world at a glance. As the protagonist, RAIDOU is a pillar of the series, the logo needed a design that would evoke the image of a handsome young man who commands demons and dashes through dark realms. The delicate curves running from the R to the O are meant to represent his slick movements." And this is the interesting part here that's highlighted by Nathan. "We also wanted the logo to be versatile if the RAIDOU series continues." Again, very small hint, but they shared before. Yame, the director, he shared that he wants the franchise to continue, so this is just him double dipping on that, you know? "We also wanted the logo to be versatile if the RAIDOU series continues. They can reuse that logo and put a versus King Abaddon down there, and it works, or do something else for a third release of a new game for RAIDOU. I think that would be awesome." This is the small hint. When it comes to the big hint, that was also found by Drifter, fan of the channel here, and longtime supporter of the channel as well, just like Nathan. Shoutouts to both of you guys. I'm happy to share what people who are here in the community found. You know, that's always awesome. So Drifter here said, "Oh my god, RAIDOU 2 fans, they're giving us hope." And you have a screenshot from RAIDOU Remastered, RAIDOU talking with a masked figure in Shiro Ranga way, and the masked figure says, "You know, I might come back to the capital someday. In fact, I know I will." Very interesting stuff, but this doesn't mean much if you have not played these games, which is my case. So I reached out to Drifter here. Shoutouts to him. Thank you so much for helping me understand this thing. But basically, what this means is there is a character that is in the sequel that isn't in RAIDOU 1, that's only in RAIDOU 2, and apparently this character put in a request, so a case file for RAIDOU to complete in this remastered version of the game. So it was not in the original release, this is completely new, and this character is named Nagi, and basically the person that you see here in the screenshot, it's not a specific character that we can make out. We don't really know who that character is specifically, but it's definitely one character that is from a clan of assassins that dresses like that were only introduced in RAIDOU 2. So the presence of this character here makes this character it's odd. You're not. This character is not supposed to be there. It's new in the remaster. There isn't much new, but this certainly is new. And the reason that character is there, speaking with Raidou, is because a character called Nagi definitely sent a request in to Raidou as a side quest in the first game. So if it's not a hint, in my opinion, it's not really a hint. It's a tease. I think the development team are definitely looking forward to porting Raidou 2, or maybe it's already in the works, and they are teasing it here with, again, answers to interview questions, but also here with a new case file, a new request that you have in RAIDOU Remastered. So with all of that in mind, you look at the sales, they look decent. You look at the 2 hints that they gave us. You hear the producer Yame talking about his desire to bring back Raidou 2. I think it's looking good, you guys. I think it's looking really good. I think there's a good chance that Raidou 2 gets the HD treatment. If you want that and you have not purchased Raidou, maybe try and support it if you can afford it. Otherwise, wait for a sale. It's going to come out on sale at some point. So if the lifetime sales of that game are decent, I think we're definitely going to get that game. And to me, that is very exciting because I do own the PlayStation 2 version of Raidou 2, but this HD remastered with all the new controls and added features is very, very good. I highly recommend you guys check it out. Thank you so much for watching this video, and once again, shout outs to Drifter and Nathan for their help here with this video. Have a great day, y'all. Bye.